Hi, everyone. March is Women's History Month. And to celebrate that, we are talking to some remarkable women who have made big differences in the infertility world. On today's episode, we get to hear from Dr. Dara Havemann. Dr. Havemann has been an infertility specialist at Dallas IVF for over 12 years and is so passionate about helping others grow their families. Not only is she an expert in the field as a medical professional, she has personal experience with navigating infertility as her own journey to parenthood came through multiple failed IUI cycles and eventually to IVF, where she now has 11, almost 12-year-old twins, and after a few attempts for a successful transfer, her 7-year-old son. It was such a pleasure and just so much fun speaking to Dr. Havemann about her own path to motherhood, some of the remarkable women in her life and how they shaped her, as well as the amazing sports references she uses to explain just what goes into an egg retrieval transfer day and how to navigate this path as an intended parent, donor, or surrogate. So please enjoy listening to Dr. Havemann. Me, you, and who? Who knew it would take more than two people to have a baby? In a world where infertility is no longer a taboo topic, this podcast will take you through all the different aspects of surrogacy and egg donation through the lens of many who walk this journey in different ways. My name is Whitney Hall, and I am a two-time surrogate, now turned surrogacy coordinator for Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions, the very agency I used when I chose to carry for two amazing families. With this podcast, it is our goal to help guide and support you as you learn about what it takes to grow a family in an alternative way, as well as hear inspiring and beautiful stories of how this path has changed lives forever. We can't wait for you to hear about just one more way happy families are created every day. Hello. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, Dr. Havemann, I so appreciate you just giving your time. I know your days are filled from beginning to end, and here you are, just making time for our little podcast. So thank you.
No problem. We're all very busy. Multiple things always going on in everyone's life. So it's great. It's great to be here. It's great to see you.
Yes, it is so great to see you. It's so fun. Obviously, of course, Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions, we get to work with you guys, and it's such a blast. But I love getting to just do something like this. This is way fun. So first, before we even get to all of the fun of, just what you do now, I would love to hear from you, what even led you on the path to medicine and then ultimately becoming a reproductive endocrinologist. It's so specific.
That's all back. We need a time machine to go back that far, but we'll make it back there. So, I am always involved in medicine. I was a veterinarian, and since I was knee high, I was out with animals, mainly I grew up in a small town in Missouri, and so I was always out with him, delivering the animals, trying for her going in, doing a little bit high, getting to washing goose T-sections on helping with little puppies and Yorkies and things like that.
Your OB career started early.
Well, my very first delivery that I actually remember being at was definitely a having case where we pulled the calf. And, we're talking in small town Missouri. So my mom was getting her master's degree. My dad was in charge of my older sister and I was maybe 4 or 5, and we would sit on the top of the gates and we would sit during our little nightgowns and watch them pull the calves. And, the old farmers might come so sweet. And they would always give us cookies and milk. So I love to go. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go watch you pull the calf because I'm going to get a cookie and milk. So I love that. My friends has always gravitated towards medicine, and I just love being able to help. I like being able to help in the way that I just prove medicine so that I can help people get stronger. And again, it started with mammals, and my favorite thing to tell people is I didn't do pediatrics because pediatrics is way too much like vet medicine. Your patients can't talk too much. Not even with people. So after that medicine, I love my animals at home. But that kind of led me down the path to human medicine. And I went to human medicine, did that, went to med school, and at the end of med school, I was tired. I think you all have this stage in your life where you're like, I'm tired. And both this like choice of going to school so long that am I doing the right thing this for 1 week? I still had
Yeah.
this like moment of, gosh, is this my past 1 week? And I went into OB because at that stage I kind of committed myself and I was like, I love women. Women are the best patients. Women are the strongest patients. I love my male patients. They're very helpful, but women are strong. They never complain. I mean, they're the strength. And so, I'm gonna go into OB. And at this time, I was kind of having this little existential moment of like, it wasn't right for me. And so I
Yeah.
go into OB, and it became very obvious very fast that this path was where I was meant to be the whole time. Like this is where I was meant to be. I love
I
OB.
love
That's
that.
who I am. I like delivering babies, but my very first rotation in residency, my very first thing I did, like I stepped into residency and I did an infertility rotation. And everyone was like, you did really good at this. You seem to like it. You should consider this. And I was like, yeah, they're being nice. They probably say this to everyone. It's my first rotation. Like, I'm sure this is what they say to everybody. And then I started doing more and more and more of the other things. And I was like, I missed that infertility thing I did back a
Yeah.
while ago. I love the calculated precision. I love so much about infertility where, it's very much science where A and B equals C, whereas delivering babies is very like it's emergency medicine. You're like going with whatever flies at you, and that is awesome.
Sure.
I love to control and plan things. I love to plan things.
That type A comes out.
Yes, so with that being said, it's a very long path, but I decided going into infertility was a good fit for me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of that's the whole how I got down the path to medicine, into OB, into infertility, and here we are as pet, I suppose.
I love that. Did you go and get yourself milk and cookies after you would deliver a baby?
Okay. Unfortunately, I had to stop that trend at some point in time. I would have my full of cookies, so every time I
Absolutely. I love that. And I mean, you're so right. Just women are awesome in general. And so I love that, obviously in OB, that is, you're working with women and we are pretty awesome. So yeah, no, that is so fantastic. So ultimately you kind of landed in infertility as like this is what I'm excellent and amazing at. And then all of a sudden it's time for you to have your family.
Yes. Well, so I assumed I had this moment of like, do I want to continue on to listen? Do I want to be? Because you listen to these minutes where you doubt yourself and like,
Absolutely.
And
I think we can all relate to that. Absolutely.
And then then else where you get far enough in and you look back and you think, this is where I was meant to be the whole time. I'm so glad that I didn't doubt myself out of this and I kind of trusted the instinct to go down this path because this is where I was meant to be the whole time. And I think where you were going with this is I was 2 years into my 3-year infertility fellowship when my husband and I have been married about 18 months to 2 years. My mom just found a diagnosis of cancer, so I think that kind of into like, okay, I think I want to start my family. I think we've all been doing it long enough. It's time to start your family. And it was like this eye-opening moment of, this isn't going the way we thought it was. Something isn't going right here. And so then that led to our fertility journey. So a lot of my patients think that my infertility journey started on my path, but I was already on this path when I stumbled into being patient.
Wow. So what was that like as you're sitting there, you're on your path to learning how to help others, and then all of a sudden you become the patient?
Yeah. So I will say you lose all sense of parental thought when it comes to your own self. I adopt this. And I'd have a call friends and you're like, so I don't adopt this. They think they need some help. And I think I questioned a lot of what I wanted to do. And I'll be honest, having gone down my path really helps me when talking to patients because my husband and I are so very different. And we're so very different, which makes us work so very well together.
Absolutely.
The way we approach things are very different. I'm kind of assessed with a quick jump in, let's go, I got this, like very, very like quick and go. And my husband is very methodical. He lays out his plan. And so after 6 months of not having a period and some workup and some testing, it was very obvious that I would have PCOS. And so, with that being said, I was a bit single peak, knowing pregnancy rates, knowing what lied ahead.
Sure.
I told him, I was like, I want to do IVF. And my husband said, you want to do IVF because you do this for a living. He was like, no, I'm sick. And I'm like, I wanted to mother up because I do this for a living. And his rational, and again, in this thought process is, why would you jump into the deep end when we haven't tried these other things to see if they're less aggressive, might be better, why put your body through that if you don't need it.
Sure.
And so we're trying to listen, because this is what marriage is, right? Marriage is like, I think this, you think this, here we are in the middle.
Yeah.
And so we did a few cycles, probably less than what he would have liked. We ended up doing 4 IUIs. He is a very he would have been in it for probably 9 months or a year to be like, let's just make sure we're not rushing into things.
Sure.
And so we did 4 cycles of IUI. It really wasn't successful. And then I was like, tight and done. I am emotionally tapped out and physically tapped out. It's time to move on. And so kind of knowing where she and I came from different backgrounds on treatments, it really helps me fight patients, because this is how I like to tell people is, when these are your options, you guys decide. This is your journey. I'm here to give you numbers. I'm here to give you information. You guys decide what's best for you, because that's what I needed for us at that time.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I love that you are tapping into, because yes, I mean, you had all the information, and, sometimes that is not necessarily in your favor because you're, like you said, you could just jump straight in here. And there is that full psychological aspect and talking to your partner and, just everything like that. I mean, there's so much besides just picking your path of what you're going to do. There's so much involved in that.
Absolutely. You just think, for a partner, but you think you know your partner before you start an infertility journey, and then you know so much more about your partner because you keep these hurdles, and then you guys we always have sit back down and reassess and go, okay, what are we comfortable with? What are we not comfortable with? What is good for us? Where we draw a line and what's not good for us? And reassessing those sorts of things. And I have conversations that we have a lot of conversations about,
Sure.
who we are, what we wanted to be. Oh, views on life, but some of it didn't even come up until we started our journey for having a family.
Absolutely. So what was that? I mean, infertility, I always say it really is just such an emotional roller coaster. You have so many high highs and so many low lows. I mean, it's just not a straight trajectory. It just really isn't. And then, you and your husband are kind of having differences of how you want to approach it and things like that. How did you guys handle that? Especially with you kind of having both hats of, I'm a infertility doctor and I'm now a patient.
Well, it is taking me a good 12 years past my fertility journey to say I probably didn't handle it that well, if I can be honest. I can look back and get great advice on what not to do.
There you go. Okay.
At the moment, you're just in all the feels and all the hormones and all of everything, and it's just hard. It's so hard. And I thought my last negative pregnancy test with IUI before we was IVF on my 30th birthday.
Oh, geez.
On my birthday. And I mean, it was, when you say the high highs and the low lows, there is time between. It's a roller coaster. And, what I like to tell my patients is don't stay in the dark, low places too long. Because if you find yourself staying in those dark places too long, it means you need a break. You need to step back. You need to find who you are in before you start again. I wish someone would have told my very still, I'm so stubborn. There wish someone would have been like, you need to take a break and, take a minute for you, because I was just so goal-oriented. I'm like, I'm not to have a child. I don't want to build my family. Need to go. And I don't think I took the time to process, but I was telling what I was going through. So did I answer that well? I can tell you what not to do, but I don't think I did it very well at the time.
No, I love that. No, and that's so honest, and you're so right, because you are so in your feels. And you had said you're, not only are you guys on this path of trying to build your family, but now you have, your mother was diagnosed and, I mean, you have so many outside things happening, not to mention, you're trying to become a doctor as well. So I mean, literally, as we said in the beginning, we're all just juggling all of the things.
Right.
And you're juggling big stuff. So what was the thing that how did you get out of those dark places? And what would you say that you wish you had done differently?
That's a great wish. Okay, so I wish I wouldn't have accused myself or held myself accountable for not being pregnant. I know something that I blamed myself. The blame was all internal. It's all my fault. Why can I not do this? Why is my body not doing this? And that's not fair, right? Like, no one has control over their ovaries. I know that. Our patients know that. Rationally, we know that.
Sure.
But in the moment, you're just so mad and so upset that your body isn't doing what it's supposed to do. And like I told like so many of my patients, we're so goal-oriented. And there is nothing in my life that I hadn't studied harder, worked harder, done more to be able to achieve my goal. And for the life of me, I could not make my ovaries work more had I tried harder. So it was coming up to this roadblock in life where I was like, I can't work harder to make my ovaries do what I'm not going to do. So for me, kind of having this moment blaming myself, that's what you don't do. That's what you don't do.
Yeah.
Right? Since growing and then becoming an adult, becoming a mom, becoming a family, I think counseling is the best thing ever. I think it's truly the best thing ever.
Yes.
My favorite thing to tell people is, would you ever go play a sports game? Would you ever go either down the hallways and go on the field without a coach? Like, that's insane, right? But no, they would never play a game without their coach. So why do we think that we can relax without a coach? Because sometimes you need someone to step outside of yourself and you go, hey, you think about it this way? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. I was so within myself that I didn't. So what I would tell my younger self is start talking with somebody about this, a counselor specifically, who can try to help you process through and go, you might have this year. Oh, you didn't do anything to deserve this, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I would have listened then, but at least it would have set me on the right path for that. So.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. Oh, so many amazing nuggets in there because you're so right. I mean, yeah. Why would you not life without a coach? Oh my gosh. That's huge. I think too, I feel as though societally as women, we're kind of given this whole, like you said, work harder, just do more, just, keep at it. And
you got this, right?
Yeah. And you can't plan your ovaries. You can't
I can't see you. Every patient is telling around, including me. We've all tried. It didn't work. That's why we're here.
It doesn't work. That's exactly right. Oh my gosh. No. So ultimately, you guys, you did IUI and then ultimately you did end up doing IVF.
Yeah. So we did IUI. We ended up doing IVF ultimately to help our family. I tell my patients my field grows so fast. So what it looked like to do IVF for me almost 12 years ago is completely different from what it looks like to do IVF now.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely.
Everything is different. I remember walking in on the day of my transfer. I had a fresh transfer. That's like very rare these days. So they did a fresh transfer, and then we're looking at the embryos. And I asked for a single embryo. I was like, I've been seeing that single embryos are the healthiest pregnancy, less chance of twins. And my fertility physician struggled and said, okay, but I won't guarantee those rates. No one does that. And my husband and I into this when we've been doing so much. And we're like, okay, oh my God, tell everything you got in there. Let's just in their pregnancy. So we planned 2 embryos. I am so very blessed that I had twins. But that's something that is so different now than what we do. So a lot of patients come in going, that's what you did. I'm like, yeah, but that was in the dark ages of IVF. That was 12 years ago. My passion is so much different and more now. So we ultimately did IVF. It was a wonderful experience for me. In terms of the outcomes, I was really happy. I feel that the process, I don't know, I went into IVF mentally better than I did with IUI just because I knew pregnancy rates were so much higher. I had so much faith in that process and outcome. And ultimately that was it for us. So we had twins with our first transfer. And they were
Whoop, whoop.
born early. It was amazing. They were born early. And so after that, I was sleeping for I don't think 3 years of my life.
Uh-huh.
It took a little while before we came back. And I also had a prison transfer and we have a younger son as well. So I have 3 kids.
Oh my gosh, fellow twin mamas. So high five, three. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I had a singleton and then twins. So yeah, I had the flip flop.
Yeah, yeah. See, at least you knew she was pregnancy. Like, when you do twice first, I always look people, if you're gonna have punch, you should do it first. Just fingers, but you don't know what this thing was pregnancy is like.
That's what I always say. Absolutely.
You just,
Yes.
you go with it. I remember having my youngest and being like, oh, this beautiful. Like, I can do this one at a time. But 2 at a time, I just felt like my head was up the water all the time. Yes, I feel you on that.
Yeah, talk about the roller coaster, right? Like you go from like yay to oh wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so to go back a little bit, for those who don't know, what is the difference between a fresh and frozen embryo, and why is that something that's a little more rare than what we do now?
So 10 years ago, we had older freezing methods, and I tell people freezing embryos, but kind of like freezing an ice cube is not the best analogy, but go with me. So they freeze an ice cube slowly, you worry about ice crystals forming in it. And so the old way of freezing embryos, it didn't have as high of a rate of survival, because it's what we call our slow freeze and thaw, and the embryos just didn't survive the freeze and thaw as well.
Sure.
So because the survivability with freezing embryos wasn't as good, we tended to put in more embryos and we did it fresh. So right after the egg retrieval, you wait 4 or 5 days for your embryos to develop, and then you put the embryos directly back into the uterus. That is what we call a fresh transfer, putting embryos directly back in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, freezing thaw techniques are different. We have a fast freeze and thaw. Vitrification is the fancy word we use, but flash freeze, flash thaw, and embryos are fabulous with it. It doesn't put nearly as much strain. Survivability is amazing. And because of that, freeze embryos, which means we put them in until we just pause them in time. We let the hormones come down, you get to feel better. And then when we put the embryos in the next cycle, it allows me to sync up the uterus and the embryo better from a timing perspective, from a hormone perspective. And then we get our pregnancy rates from it. So that's when we do a freeze. When the embryos have come through, we pause them, let everyone hormonally get back synced up, and then put them back in.
I love that. I love that. And then another amazing, super great analogy. Another thing that you had mentioned 10, 12 years ago, like you said, you fresh, or really just back then it was like throw everything in there. And so you get all of the fun People magazines, Octomom and everything like that. And I know that's a lot of one of the frequently asked questions I get on a gestational carrier side is, oh, so is that like super common? Like you just always do a double embryo transfer? And then we do get a lot of intended parents who ask about double embryo transfers. So what makes it different then versus now?
Good question. So back in the dark ages of IVF, which got common dark ages, but back like 10 years ago, we didn't do genetic testing. IVF freeze not all wasn't as good. So we tended to put in more embryos because when we went to thaw them, we just didn't know how well they would do come through the thaw.
Sure.
But now we see more and more cycles having genetic testing. The more we know about the embryo before it goes in, it increases the pregnancy rates, decreases miscarriage rates. Because pregnancy rates are so much better, upwards of 70+% per transfer now, when you're putting in one embryo versus 2, now I tell my patients, really, you're not increasing your overall pregnancy rate when you're going into it. You're just deciding how fast you want to grow your family.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. No,
but
that makes a ton of sense.
Conversation to be had. All of our American Society of Reproductive Medicine, a lot of our guidelining company or guidelining organizations always say, healthiest pregnancy is the best pregnancy. So making sure that we're minimizing any risks to mom and baby while they carry pregnancy, to carrier and baby while they're carrying pregnancy, to make sure everyone stays healthy, make sure that we can have a healthy pregnancy. My favorite thing to tell my patients is getting pregnant is my goal. You having a healthy baby is no goal. So getting just pregnant in general is good, but that's not the end all be all outcome. The outcome is you have a healthy baby on the back end.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, that makes a ton of sense. That makes a ton of sense. So, how do you, going back to, you're having these conversations with your intended parents, and they say, "Well, you did a double embryo transfer," and things like that. What has that been like, being able to, obviously having the knowledge that you have just as a physician in general, but then personal knowledge? How has that helped you just in your own practice?
Yeah. So, like, comes to talking to my intended parents of all everyone that I have chats with is kind of going through and saying, you all have our own personal journeys for what your family's going to look like and how fast you want to achieve that family. And there's a lot I can say about mine, and it's a lot of conversations we had about risks. How old are you now? How many total kids do you want?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's talking about, I think so many of us get to this stage where we're here and you can finally feel that family so close to you. And it's hard to think about not just getting pregnant, but what my life will look like when kiddos are here. So from my personal standpoint, as I do share, my kids were born 2 months early. And it was a pretty, it was a pretty quick and like, oh my gosh, my babies are coming out. I wasn't expecting this kind of moment. And
Yeah.
I'm incredibly lucky. My husband and I are in that our kiddos they had an incredibly kind of eventful course in the NICU.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a 1 month NICU stay, and we purposely held them back in school because they were, 2 months early. I'm like the little chiquito's children in the class. We always said,
Yeah.
it's time to grow up and things like that. So I like sharing with my parents and the parents saying, you need to look at the leave you have to the book early, but there are risks to having to, and what does that mean on the back end? And what will that mean to your child in 5 years or 10 years, and some of the obstacles that they have to face.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. How do you navigate those conversations for, maybe you have intended parents who, okay, we've decided that probably the best bet is that we need to use a surrogate, but they're holding on. Okay, but what does it look like to do just one more transfer of my own? Like, would you ever do that simultaneously? How do you navigate things like that?
Everyone's journey is different.
Yeah,
So
it
I
is.
would never tell you, oh, that's not a good idea, because that's not my decision I made.
Mm-hmm.
But female like to tell patients is we want to give every embryo its absolute best chance. Every
Right.
embryo has a chance, right? And there comes a point in time where we need to say what is best for you and what is best for your embryo. What is going to get you to where you need to be? Because we don't want to continue doing cycles that would take up, I was telling her on page the other day. I'm like, what is it other than time? Like, we're losing nothing more than just time. But the fact of the matter is, you're investing yourself in every single cycle. And you need to make sure that we're making the best use of time of your investment. You're investing yourself physically, you're investing yourself emotionally in every cycle, and what is going to be the best outcome for that embryo. And it depends on how many of these transfers we've done, how many embryos we have. But with that being said, there does come a point in time where we need to stop and say, what's the best decision for you and your family, for the best use of the embryos, the healthiest outcome for everyone involved? What does that look like based on what your journey's been so far?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. Cause yeah, you're so right. Every journey is so unique. Everything about infertility is so unique to the person, which is so funny because I know you had said in the beginning how you loved it was a puzzle and it makes sense and it's the science. And then ultimately at the end of the day, it's still a unique process.
That's the crazy thing that, and again, I wish A and B will see every single time, but the fact of the
Absolutely.
matter is, right, this is lies. A and B could equal a dot some days, and so you have to be able to say what is best for each patient when they come in on their journey based off of what they have been through. How many cycles has that been? How many embryos do you have? What is going to be the best for your family at this stage?
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, when doing any infertility treatments, but especially when we're talking about using a surrogate, using a donor of any kind, it's hard to transition. It's a very big, I tell my patients, we're going to diverge from the path you thought you were on to a different path. And it's hard to transition your brain and your heart both at the same time down that path. And it's kind of opening your mind into what is best for my family. You may not have been. It's never what you thought it was when you said you at the altar, you look each other in the eye. You never thought I would be involved in this process. Here I am. I was not here. I do.
Right, right. Me, you, and who?
Right. Here I am. And that's kind of where we get to exploring these alternative pathways and what's open and what's so great for building a family, because there are so many different options out there.
Right, right, absolutely. And like you said, I mean, it's that's where that emotional piece and having that support, whatever that may look like, whether it's, you know, friends or your partner, or as we all recommend, a therapist. Perfect. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So what would you say sets Dallas IVF apart during this, just in general, as a clinic in infertility? What would you say sets you guys apart, besides the fact that you have amazing third-party team? Shout out to Tammy and Morgan. I absolutely love and adore them. Oh my gosh.
Well, and it's Tammy and Morgan's fault. They put up with from us, from coordinating, from the hard work they do. They are an exhaustive amount of information, and they keep us fully as time. So again,
oh my gosh. Yes, yes.
What sets Dallas IVF apart? What I would love to think that sets Dallas IVF apart is, you know, every fertility clinic, we all are going to be able to do the same things in terms of IUI, IVF. But what sets us apart is that when you walk in the clinic, you get to feel who we are as humans. You get to meet us from that path. We find you where you are, find what's the right task for you, and you feel that we help you build your family, and that to a certain extent, that sounds a little bit much, but to a certain extent, we're here for you and become family as you grow your family. That empathetic bond as we go forward on the journey, because, you know, it's such an emotional process. It is such a vulnerable process. So my goal is that at Dallas IVF, if you walk in the door and you don't just feel that you're saying, here's the options, here we are, let's go figure out what you want to do, but someone who hears you, feels you, and can find that right place for you and help you along the journey.
Yeah, the human in the process, because it can be so, you know, check the boxes and things like that. And it's the humanness. No, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And again, Tammy, oh gosh, love her. I would follow her to the end of the earth. Like, where are we going, Tammy?
Agreed.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So within all of this, you know, again, we get to have that special relationship, you know, from the agency perspective of coordinating things and, you know, with the clinics and with you guys, specifically. What would you say, you know, so I would say some of the frequently asked questions that we get a lot of times are kind of, you know, myth busting questions. What would you say is maybe one of the biggest myth busters that you would love to just say, shout from a mountaintop?
Is regarding
whether it's being an egg donor, a surrogate, or even just an intended parent. You know, I always say, Facebook is that lovely double-edged sword, right? Like we go to Dr. Facebook maybe to find some of our information, or we go to Dr. Google, and, you know, what would you say is maybe one of to combat Dr. Facebook and Dr. Google?
I think one of the biggest fears that my patients have when they come in and we have to kind of start looking at egg donor surrogacy and things like that. One of the biggest fears is they feel as an parent that at some point in time, can their family need to get away from them? That is one of the biggest fears I hear from my patients all the time. And let's be honest, Texas and all conservative states are going through a lot of legal stuff out there that in the fertility world is kind of making us take a pause, you know, whoa, what's happening? But the one thing that I love to tell my intended parents or surrogate donors is that Texas is very legally protective of your kiddo. There are legal documents put in place saying, hey, this is your family. It's in writing from day one. No one can ever take your family away from you. This is your family. You know, you can build this. I think that is a part that a lot of patients are like, Oh, I didn't realize it was so protected. Did you hear war stories from the dark ages when things weren't quite as, set in stone as it is now about how things can go?
Well, sure. The horror stories are way more sensational, and Lifetime certainly isn't going to be able to make money off of, that kind of story that you just laid out. Like,
Right.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, speaking of, I mean, gosh, we're like live in it as far as changes and everything, just, in legal land. As in the seat that you sit, what are kind of your thoughts on everything that's currently happening in Alabama?
Yeah, it's not awesome. I think that's of the moment.
I would say so.
Um, awesome. I put a post on my own social media the other day, time going into my feelings and thoughts on it. I am hurt. I am sad. I am
Mm,
frustrated for my patients. We're all confused. Everyone's confused, right? This ruling came out, and no one really knows the exact implications or what it means for fertility treatment. So we just, and again, I understand why the practitioners have all just sucked, because everyone's like, this is a lot of gray, and you don't know what it means in terms
sure.
of how we go from here. And so it's just so unclear on what that path means, what Alabama has made, how it's going to be interpreted, how other states are going to adopt that. It's just, there's just more questions than answers.
Yeah.
And for someone who is in this field, I am just angry, heartbroken, and frustrated for everyone that this affects. And
Hmm.
I know thankfully we're not, but with that being said, I feel like for the last week and a half, all I've done is field questions for patients saying, I don't know the answer. I don't know what's coming. And it's so
Yeah.
scary when it feels like the one hope we have is it still going to be there? How so? What's it going to mean? So the answer is, I'm not feeling great about what is happening in Alabama.
Yeah.
Strong feelings and strong thoughts on that. And I am incredibly happy with the fertility community. I am like my heart
Mm,
overflows with the fertility community and how much everyone is coming together. The activism, what Result is doing to kind of stand up and say, look at how
yeah.
this is affecting everyone. Look at where we are and how many people are not okay with these rulings that are being made.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and I mean, like you said, not only are like you're on that roller coaster, you were down one path. Now your option is to go down the third party path. And now we have all, we're just throwing in all of these obstacles,
Right.
it feels
I
like.
mean, if
Yeah.
people are nervous and scared to start with, let's throw in some little things to go along with it with restrictions and things of that
Yeah.
nature. So,
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah, it's been a lot of fun the last 2 weeks for the fertility community, but I am
Hmm.
hopeful that with education, insight, and a whole lot of representation, that hopefully that these changes can be clearly based on IVF. That's my hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in education, right? I think, like you said, so many people, they're looking at the Lifetime movies or they're seeing the clickbait or that's what they
Mhm.
think when they think of just whatever this is. And the less taboo this topic becomes, the more
All right.
people are going to learn. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then we did something about, especially with my patients. When I sit down and go through patients, what does this mean? What are we talking about when we talk about embryos and starting embryos and pregnancy rates and things of that nature? And once we have this discussion, then they go, oh yeah, no, I'm okay with these things. And then that I understand it more. But it's as you said, you walk in with sensationalized information that you get from TV, you're not sure, and you think you know, but you don't know. Education goes a long way for making people feel comfortable with where they are in their journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, yeah. And yeah, it's sensationalized information and the fear that comes with it and, all of
Yeah.
those things. So, I know again, we field, questions as well. And one of the frequently asked questions that we get in kind of egg donor land is as parents are navigating what that particular path looks like, sometimes they ask the question, hey, I am I gonna like how am I gonna feel about this kid who maybe isn't genetically mine? How do you navigate something like that?
So that's kind of still different for everyone, right? How
Yeah.
I feel. But what I like to tell people is, in that situation specifically of your egg, right?
Sure.
But like, this baby is genetically not of my makeup. And what I like to remind them is, it may not be. But remember, you've carried that baby for 9 months. Your blood has flown through that baby. You have taken 9 months to bond with your baby before it gets here, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's so much bonding going on. And again, there's so much bonding of your family unit that goes together. And to counseling, walking through some of these thoughts and concerns before you get to that point. All of that can go into helping you through the pregnancy, through delivery. And then for my intended parents that are needing surrogates, right? Feeling like they're missing out on that bond. I always feel that everyone looks for different things in their surrogate. How much of a relationship do you want with the surrogate? And so if you feel like you might be missing out on any opportunities during the pregnancy, you need to find a surrogate that's going to allow you to get the appointments, to send you pictures,
Yeah.
to make you feel like you get to experience as much as they're experiencing. Because from my experience, so many surrogates want to make sure the intended parents are involved. They want to make sure that there's a great, connection of what that journey is going to look like together.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. No, you're so right. You're so incredibly right. So on the flip side, talking to an egg donor specifically, they're, okay, I'm about to take all of this medicine that I know nothing about. And, just, and all of these things, and egg donation, it like comes in fast, right? What would you say? I know, again, like we'll have some people, they've decided, hey, I'm going to be an egg donor, but I still want to have kids. How is egg donation going to affect my own fertility?
Okay. You would think that I would be better at sports for as many sports analogies as I have. But go on, I mean, we're going to know sports analogies.
Let's go. Let's do it. Yes. Okay. Hey, my husband's a coach, so I'm always here for it.
You would think that would have some background to it. You are born with a set number of eggs. They're not all hanging out at the same time. Every month, your body puts out a team of eggs. Okay? If we lost one egg a month, girl, we would never do this menopause thing, right? We would never have we could have enough forever if we just lost one. But no one's losing one egg a month. Every month you have a team of eggs. And then our body goes down and selects your ulcer, your 18th layer, and you ovulate that, but you lose your whole team of layers. And then next month you get a whole new set of bench warmers to work with for that team of layers. So with egg donation, all I'm doing is trying to take better advantage of all the players that are available on our team that month. And so when I have your next set of informing layers for the next month, I'm just taking available what is in that month anyway. Makes sense?
Oh, that makes a ton of sense. That makes sense. So in layman's terms, what does the process look like of going and getting those bench warmers?
Good question. So think of a normal period cycle. 5 weeks looking for. My goal is to try to take what your body does in a normal cycle and just give everyone a participation out, and many everyone will participate.
In this area, we love participation medals.
That's what we're doing. So, in an ovulation cycle for the donors, they get a period. I usually line up their eggs with a little birth control. I tell people not to be yelling at your ovaries, being like, line up. It's like being in kindergarten, being told line up and getting a line, right?
Absolutely.
So we yell at the ovaries, get them lined up, and then your body makes enough hormones to grow one egg. And then what I do is I give your body the same hormones through small injections of the exact same hormones that you made to grow one egg. And my goal is to just grow many. And we follow the same 2-week time course, monitoring how you're responding during that time course. And then around the time your body would be like, oh, I'm starting to not sign all those eggs. And I go in and do an egg retrieval and take them out. So I'm just trying to take a normal period cycle, amplify it to grow as many eggs as are available in your ovaries in that month, and then retrieve them and take them out.
I love that. I love layman's terms. It makes things so much easier. No, that's perfect. Yeah, that makes a ton. Good job, coach.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not ready for a coaching debut.
I love it. So what advice would you give to just any woman who's thinking about becoming an egg donor?
To anyone becoming an egg donor, what a gift you could give, right? What gift you could give in terms of allowing someone an opportunity to take your fantastically young, healthy, amazing eggs and be able to donate them to have a family. You don't even understand what a gift that is to those patients that would be in a position to need those eggs.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, I try to remind my patients, my eggs are young, they're young because that's when I have the best eggs. But man, what a good, great thing, what a blessing that you were giving to other couples to be able to allow people to grow a family through something that you're doing for them.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I love that. I love that. So, switching over to surrogacy land, I always say everybody has their own secret sauce as far as protocols and all of those fun medications and things like that. What would you say is, maybe one of the more, I guess, common side effects with medications, maybe easing those fears of taking those medications, why, the mapping out of what exactly we're doing, when it comes to all of that fun. And then what does transfer day look like from in the seat that you sit in?
Yes. So in my own that people come at you with, I'm sorry, what are you asking me? You want me to take injections? You want me to give them to myself? Like, what are
Right?
you?
Yeah.
What are you? And
we go to doctors for this. This is what, no, we go to doctors for this.
Right. And I will tell you, the hardest thing is to take the first injection. That is the hardest thing is to get past the first one, to get over the mental mind block of like, this, that, I'm going to vote myself, but someone else is voting me, and this is happening, regardless of how that's going to do. And that's the hardest thing, is just getting past the concept of this is actually happening, we're starting the process. Once you get past that initial jump, it feels like the momentum carries with you through the rest of the cycle. Everyone has their secret sauce and secret recipes for how to take injections, which is involve a little bit of ice to numb the area, to involve, a massage afterwards to make sure if it's injections for progesterone, make sure all that progesterone is
yes.
My favorite secret is a little lidocaine jelly, maybe 5 minutes ahead of time, and then you wipe off with your alcohol wipe to sterilize the injection. From my patients with needle focus, you've all had, I love my patients with needle focus, we've all had that, but truly when you have patients for like, I can't do this, the closure is not happening, the numbness it's not happening.
There you
go. We all have our little secret recipes for getting through it, but the hardest thing is getting past coach day. If you can take the first day, you are well on your way to everything being better. So that for me is the best thing. You just have to start. I think starting is the hardest thing. You just have to get to a place where you can start.
Yeah, absolutely.
Transfer day. What to expect on a transfer day? I like to let people, transfer day is the coolest thing I feel. It is just the best moment. It's just, I mean, if you really just there and like, this is it. This is it. Everything you spend weeks and months to get into, it's right here. The one thing I would tell my patients to respect in terms of if we're transferring into your uterus is, oh my gosh, the full bladder is no joke. It's very uncomfortable.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. I was like, my biggest fear as a surrogate on transfer day was just peeing on everybody. I was so concerned.
Yes. And with that being said, I never judge anyone because I was the patient that didn't come home on bladder. I was the one who went in with like the bladder this big with no,
there you go,
with nothing in it. Like, I just can't. I heard. So I am not here to judge anyone. The bladder filling is no joke. It's a faster process than you would think. It is just. The thing I tell people that I don't want them to experience is be a moment, just sit there and be a moment. In the world that we are today, we have phones and we have stuff, and we are always wanting to take pictures, and we're always wanting to, touch the moment. But just be in the moment. Just be in the moment. At Dallas IVF, we will record a little loop of the transfer on ultrasound. So we tell people just be in the moment, and then you can record my recording afterwards. But just absorb it because it goes faster. Life, it goes faster than you think it would, right?
Yeah.
So just be there and absorb being in that moment.
I love that. Oh my gosh, I love that. And I love that you gave the opportunity for that. That's such a little simple but it's so huge for that moment. Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So looking back in, again, from with your two hats of being a doctor as well as a patient, what advice would you give to those who were just trying to figure out where to start?
Just kind of have a talk. Just get started. I think, again, that's the best thing. Just get started. Come in and have that conversation. I have patients that come in and may tell me, I I think we're ready to start having a family. We've been doing this for a while. And I have people that are like,
Yeah.
I spent always 7 months. So like, I think we're here too soon. I don't think we need to.
I think we're here too soon.
I don't think we need to be here. It's only been 9 months. I don't think we need to be here. So just come in. Just come in and chat. And I always tell people, I'm going to do a workup. My goal always to have a start every inpatient consult is let's get some information. Let's figure out what's going on. You're going to leave my inpatient consult with more questions than answers because you don't have to be the information. And so let's get the information. Just get started kind of information. And you know what? That information will be kind may release you to say everything's awesome. You're good. It's only 6 months of trying. Keep trying. But sometimes the not knowing is worse than what the actual truth may be. I think people come in and they're scared that I'm going to tell them I need to do a treatment that may not feel comfortable with them. And all too often, that may not be where we have to go with everything, right?
Yeah.
It could be something altogether different. And if it's not, there's always options. You are never going to be put in a position where you have no options. Never. You may not always like your options. I mean, that's
Sure.
all I'm going out. You may
There
not
you
like
go,
your
yeah.
options. Well, there's always different options. So, I always help people when they're through starting this day, should we look into this? The answer is yes. Sooner rather than later, always come in because let's get the information.
Yeah.
And the sooner we get the information, the more you'll have the knowledge of what faces you ahead.
I love that. I love that. From your own journey, what surprised you looking back?
All of it. It was with
The whole thing.
and I was so sure that I have, but I didn't realize what an emotional toll it would take.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I have my family. It is beautiful. It is amazing. And it is wonderful. And I love demonstrating how we got here for the world. The science, that didn't scare me at all. I'm great with the science, but I didn't anticipate the emotional journey that it was to get to where we are.
Yeah, absolutely. What you've brought up the emotional part of things, and I know we kind of talked a little bit about what you would have done differently. What did support look like for you during that time?
My husband was a great support. Let's just start. That was a lot of hormonal changes.
Well, sure, absolutely.
So for me, it was mainly my husband going through this. I did not seek out counseling at the time, and I didn't live in Vermont, my mother who had just been diagnosed with cancer, and so
Absolutely.
I kind of held things closer to my heart than what I typically would have done. Most of my friends were doctors because this is what I did. This is what I know, and
Sure.
so I was 30 years old, and I was the first person of my friend group to have kids. So now I have patients that come in, and they're like, I don't know, I feel like I'm getting old. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Some of my friends are in their 40s and we're doing just on this thing to have their kids. You're not too old to start the process. You're not too old to start the process. But, I mean, a lot of my friends didn't understand where I was in my tree because they were focused on their careers like I was. And so at that time, it meant more for me just taking on my husband and trying to, that's what marriage is, right? Trying to figure out as you go along. And so it helped us grow as a couple. It helped us really kind of figure out how to support one another through that journey because that was kind of all I had. In hindsight, I wish I would have gone to counseling then as opposed to later when I was trying to process it on the back end. Because, it would have been nice to not go just on him to help me process and someone else to help him that journey.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it takes a village ultimately, which we've all figured out as, as mothers in this, it takes a village to do anything at this point.
Just a shout out to my dear friends who are just having their kids in their 40s because so many of my patients come in and they've been focused on our careers. And so Dr. Newhouse is the Dallas IVF. She and I grew up together in the fertility world.
I love that.
Well, she and I went to residency together. We've known each other for a long, long time. And a lot of our friends, as we would go along, we would tell them, hey, dude, freeze your eggs, freeze your eggs. You never know if you're going to use them. Freeze your eggs, freeze your eggs.
Yeah.
I think one thing she and I constantly were comfortable is, you should freeze your eggs. Just why not? Just have them there and just freeze them because you never know.
Just put a button. Just put a button on your shirt. Freeze your eggs.
Them. Maybe you will in the future. But with that being said, think about that. But you're never too old to grow your family. You're never too old to grow your family. And I think sometimes I see patients coming in and they're 34 and they're like, I'm too old to start. No, girl, no, you're at the right age and the right time for you. I have issues with this man and not Corey, so like, am I too old? No, you're at the right time and the right age for you. There was never a right time. That's not. When you are ready, that is your right time.
Yes, I love that. I love that so much. Oh my gosh. Yes, no, you're so right. And I think we should all probably just have shirts that say, have you thought about freezing your eggs?
Yeah. But you didn't. There's really great options out there. Yeah. And so I tell a lot of my friends that have gone through the journey of IVF, donor egg, using surrogates and things of that nature. So it's not just my journey. I see this not only in my patients, but my good friends where, we've all gone down this path and we all have families in different ways. But not all of our hearts are full in our own way, and that's what counts.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. So speaking of all of these friends and these amazing people that you have surrounded yourself with, who are some of just those remarkable women in your life that have contributed to you and just your path, your journey? Just who are those women?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the women are those that trained with me and come out through in training. Dr. Newhouse, Rain Street is a great friend of mine who all trained together, they all came up together, we all kind of, I say grow up, I'm still growing up. I mean,
yes.
I'm not saying how old I am, but we're all still growing up together. And so that all forms what I am today. I have an older sister who's 18 months older than I am. She's not that much older than I am. She's a physician as well. And she's been a huge role model to me in terms of how to balance having a career, having a family, doing all of those things at the same time. Now I'm happy to say that in medicine, there's greater than 50% women in med schools, and I think that's a great trend for medicine. And even when I was coming through medicine, it wasn't that common. And so one of my greatest mentors is vacational out of the South Houston area. I did a lot of my training with her, and I love to say that I very much am a making of veggie, and she trained me to be who I am. But she too showed me how to be a mom and how to be a doctor and how to try to marry those two parts of yourselves into coming together to who you are today. So those are a lot of known from people in my life.
I love that. I love that. That's amazing. I mean, it does. We've got to have that sisterhood. So that's awesome. And I love that you have that. So my last question, and it's a fun one. For those who know me, they know that I have a very codependent relationship with coffee. Now, at the time of this recording, we are in the evening, so I have switched it up to tea. However, what filled your cup this morning? Literally or figuratively or both? What filled your cup this morning?
I drink way too much coffee on a regular basis. I
always say there's never too much, but
So I'm currently drinking tea because of the rules. I have to try to decrease my caffeine intake after 1 p.m. or I may not make it to bed tonight. But I love coffee and I drink it in copious amounts. When I married my husband, he was a super big coffee drinker, and I did not become a coffee drinker, not through med school, not through residency.
That's amazing.
Finally, when I became a 10 mom, then I become a coffee drinker.
There it is.
And now I drink more coffee than what is generally notable. And I actually work with my husband quite a bit throughout the week. He's an anesthesiologist, and he does a lot of the anesthesia for our egg retrieval. And it's really funny when I run into him in the afternoons if we have a case together. He'll ask me, he'll say, how much coffee have you had? You're talking really fast today. And I'm like, what do you mean? Is it too much? I figure it out too much. So I love coffee. It fills my soul. It warms me from the inside out. I am a black coffee with, it's funny. The kids don't like black coffee until you take out the creamer. And I realize I just love creamer. So I love black coffee. Fill in that creamer. That's my go-to every day.
I love it. I love it. And that's hilarious that your husband would call you out like that.
Oh, you will? Yes. And I think you thought, oh, you have an extra cup of 3 today.
Yeah, yeah. My husband does the same thing. He's like, oh, okay. It's going to be a long night. I love it. I love it. Well, Dr. Havemann, again, I just super appreciate you giving your time to this, to the education, to just your expertise, and as well as being vulnerable with your own journey. Again, special shout out to just Dallas IVF and Tammy and Morgan. Love them.
Thank you for having me. It's been such a pleasure, and I love it too. I love this. So thanks for letting me talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I will, I'll let you go on to your evening and everything. But again, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. I'll appreciate it.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode. What an insightful conversation with Dr. Havemann. I hope you, our listeners, found the information valuable. Remember, if any of the topics discussed today resonated with you, the team at Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions is here to help you connect with the support you need. Consider finding a counselor to guide you through your journey. And additionally, joining a support group through Resolve can provide a sense of community and understanding. Links for those resources can be found in the show notes. And speaking of resources, at the time of this recording, there was a new ruling in Alabama. As of March 6th, the Alabama Governor Kay Ivey signed a GOP proposed bill to protect in vitro fertilization, and most clinics have resumed care. There is still controversy about the matter, and so to keep yourself informed about what is new in legislation that affects IVF and family building, you can go to the Resolve website. They have a dedicated section to keep you informed, and we'll link that in our show notes as well. Thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out. Thanks.